Some very early figures are out for Spider-Man Far From Home. Deadline is reporting a $43 million first day, which is the biggest Tuesday ever. So if this is true, Spider-Man Far From Home has beaten the Star Wars The Force Awakens record, and it has just had the biggest Tuesday ever in the US domestic market. In the article, they go on to say that the numbers are very iffy at this stage. It's extremely early, and they believe it may actually be as low as $38 million, but may go higher than $50 million. But right now, they're saying $43 million, maybe as low as $38 million. If we look at the biggest Tuesdays ever, $37.3 million, that's the current record. That's how much Star Wars The Force Awakens got. So even if it gets this $38 million, it is still the biggest film ever for a Tuesday. Now, The Force Awakens wasn't actually launched on a Tuesday. It just had a ridiculous box office run and was able to beat films that were even launched on a Tuesday. The number 2 film here at the moment, probably down to number 3 very soon, The Amazing Spider-Man with $35 million. That was a Tuesday launch. So that was the record holder for the actual amount of money for a launch on Tuesday. But Star Wars The Force Awakens, even more money, even though it wasn't launched on Tuesday. And once again, it looks like Spider-Man Far From Home has beaten this Star Wars The Force Awakens record. Some of the official figures right now say that Spider-Man Far From Home has got $110 million already from China, Japan, and Hong Kong, but that's not 100% true. Right now, it's got $126 million from just China. I haven't been able to get a breakdown as to how much money's come from Hong Kong and from Japan, and Hong Kong is normally listed separate to China, although it's maybe kind of a part of China, sort of is and sort of isn't, but the Hong Kong is always listed as a separate box office, at least usually. So $126 million from China. I'd have to guess there's at least $10 or $20 million at least in the Japanese and the Hong Kong markets, so probably looking at $135, $145 million at least, just from those 3 markets before the US numbers are actually even officially reported. So absolutely massive overseas right now. Pretty big day. It's very unconventional, a Tuesday launch. You've got the July 4th holiday coming up in the US as well. That'll probably affect the box office a bit. And then the real question is what will happen on the weekend, because you've already got Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday eating up some of the ticket sales. So the weekend will probably be weaker than a normal weekend, but it's still going to be pretty big. Some reports are saying about $140 million week from the US is what they're expecting, or Tuesday to the Sunday, and it may go a lot higher than that. So we'll have to see just how big it'll be, but right now it looks like Spider-Man Far From Home making pretty big numbers. And the other real question is, what will this do for Avengers Endgame? What kind of increase, or will it be a decrease, will Spider-Man Far From Home do for Avengers Endgame? Now, we don't have the Tuesday numbers yet for Avengers Endgame. As I said before, these are very preliminary numbers being reported for Tuesday for Spider-Man. Here are the latest figures we actually have from the US market. We have the Monday numbers, and Avengers Endgame was number 7 in the US domestic market, $873,000, much bigger than what I thought it would have gotten, and much bigger than it was going to get without the special edition. The main takeaway from Monday is it's dropped about the same amount of money as every other film. And that's surprising to me because it's not a normal film. This is a re-release, perhaps, a sort of re-release. And I would expect it would have bled the extra money it's earning a lot quicker. It's not. It's retaining its money in line with basically every other film here that's out in the box office right now. They've all got around about a 55% decrease. There's a 49 there, there's a 58 there, there's a 59, there's a 61, 55, 59. Kind of close. So I thought it would have had a far bigger decrease than most of these other films here. So that's really good news for it to keep the money. The real question is, will there be a big increase because of Spider-Man? Will Spider-Man suck up all the oxygen and make a decrease? Because this isn't just a normal Tuesday coming up that Spider-Man happens to be out on, it's a Spider-Man opening day, it may be possible that all the films will suffer compared to a normal Tuesday. You're normally looking at about a 50% increase from Monday to Tuesday if it's not people on holidays. And right now, we've got a lot of school kids on holidays in the US market. About a 30% increase is probably more normal. So probably won't get a 30% increase for everything on Tuesday because you've got an opening day in competition. So I wouldn't be surprised if everything's a little bit under that. But the question is, will Endgame be under that? Is Endgame going to get a 30% increase? Is it going to go over 30%? Is Spider-Man actually going to increase the amount of money over the top, or is it going to get harmed and our screen's going to be pulled away? So that's the real question going forward. If it gets more than a 30% increase, it's probably going to beat Avatar because it doesn't look like the money's actually bleeding away. And if it can sustain money just in this general rate, it's going to get the $10 million it needs to beat the low Avatar figure or the $22 million it needs to beat the high Avatar figure. If you've seen my other videos, kind of keep saying it over and over again, there are two numbers out there for how much money Avatar actually earned. The numbers.com and Box Office Mojo have different amounts. One says there's another $10 million to go. One says 22. I think it's very likely it's going to get the $10 million. Okay, so Avengers Endgame is going to beat Avatar according to the numbers.com. It needs $22 million to beat Avatar according to Box Office Mojo. That's still, I wouldn't like to say that it'll definitely happen, but it looks more likely now than it did in my previous video, now that it's got this $873,000. So I still think it's going to be tough to get the $22 million, but far more likely to do it after this Monday result. But again, probably about 6 hours time, maybe a bit longer than that, we'll get the numbers for Tuesday for Endgame, and that's when we'll really know. Again, if it gets a 30% increase, that's pretty good news. I think it's possible it could beat $22 million if it gets a 30% increase. If it gets a bigger than 30% increase, that probably shows that Spider-Man's going to give it far more sustainment in its box office and people are going back and forth to see both films. It's probably going to beat Avatar, okay? Or maybe I'll just say it'll beat Avatar, okay? If it gets bigger than that, if Spider-Man's actually going to boost Avengers Endgame will be the biggest film of all time. It'll beat this $22 million. It needs to beat the box office Mojo number. If it doesn't get a 30% increase, it may not even beat the $10 million figure that it needs to beat the numbers.com amount, but I think it probably still will. I think that $10 million is probably going to go. I mean, it's going to be out in the movies for another couple of months still, probably. So in a couple of months, probably going to earn that kind of money internationally and the US market, $10 million. Can it get $22 million? It's going to be close. It's going to be very, very close, but it, again, looks a little bit more likely to me now today than it did a couple of days ago. So we'll have to wait and see. What will Tuesday bring for Avengers Endgame? Is it going to beat Avatar? Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time.